Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever time of day it is, to all of you hooligans out there. I am Jay Hooligan, and thank you for joining me today on my channel. So, something I've been wanting to talk about for a while now. I've actually talked about it extensively with people within my circles, and I wanted to share this with everybody because it seems to be an ongoing problem that has only been building in escalation in how it's being portrayed and how it's being used incorrectly and how people are using it and to kind of stave off accountability and responsibility for themselves. So this is something that you'll actually get a little bit of a peek of a book that I'm writing about screenplay writing for film, because usually it's a lot of films and movies are reflections of life. So this is where I had the book idea that we're my business partner and I, Hooligan V, are writing. So it actually pertains similar to faux antagonists, but it is something I call faux altruism. Okay, so I like relating it back to this. So faux antagonists. Faux antagonists is a really popular idea that I like to use, a method of writing, whereas it's an antagonist that the audience believes to be the enemy but is actually not. Now, what I have on here is, it's also sometimes known as a false antagonist, but is someone the audience and protagonist believe is the true enemy when they are not. This sometimes turns out to be an impact character, as in Marley from Home Alone. Two prime examples of the faux antagonists are Sirius Black in Prisoner of Azkaban and Severus Snape in many of the other Harry Potter films. So these characters are often revealed to be on the side of the protagonist when mistakenly perceived by the audience as the villain earlier on, as in Sorcerer's Stone with Snape and then other ones too. This differs against Marley's character, whereas only Kevin thought he was bad, but the audience already knew Marv and Harry were the real danger. Faux antagonists often save the protagonist in a bleak moment of peril, or are revealed to have done so throughout the film, a la Snape's arc in Deathly Hallows. In the animation Coco, Miguel's antagonists were perceived to be his disapproving family, when it turned out all of the problems were caused by his lifelong hero and alleged great-grandfather Ernesto. Once the truth was revealed, Ernesto showed his true colors and threw Miguel into a literal pit of despair without any escape. It is his family, the faux antagonist, who rescues him, so he will not die in the spirit realm in his darkest hour. So how can this all wrap around to our perceptions of people today? Now, we may not have real enemies out there in terms of what we perceive them to be, just people that we disagree with, and somehow along the way it became escalated to a point of massive dissension, massive divisiveness between people. So this ties right into what I call faux altruism, and I know that's one of my terms because I pulled it from faux antagonist, which is the term I came up with myself, even though I didn't realize there was such thing as something called a false antagonist already out there. So faux altruism, first thing to understand about that is you got to know what altruism is. So according to Psychology Today, altruism is acting to help someone else at some cost to oneself. It can include a vast range of behaviors, from sacrificing one's life to save others, to giving money to charity or volunteering at a soup kitchen, to simply waiting a few seconds to hold the door open for a stranger. Often, people behave altruistically when they see others in challenging circumstances and feel empathy and a desire to help. Okay? Here's where it gets really hairy. And again, why I've seen a lot of people use this whole faux altruistic stance as a way to basically treat people like crap. And it's really disheartening to see, intelligent people who care about a lot of these issues go so far into the emotional realm that their reaction is just massively negative. They'll start name calling, they'll start labeling with these horrible labels, and it's like, I don't know where it stems from other than just an emotional response, just living too long in that emotional realm of negativity, of that toxicity. Okay? So if you notice this, and it's something else that I do address in the book that I'm writing for Story, between negative and positive change arcs, and it really does come down to what it is with altruism. Okay, in a positive change arc, in a hero's arc, generally the hero sacrifices something of themselves to better the world around them, versus a villain's arc, or excuse me, a negative change arc, which the protagonist may sacrifice the world to better themselves or their own issue or state of mind. So you can kind of see there are these differences in it, and it, again, this is more of something I see as a reflection of life, which is why it truly does interest me in terms of trying to better ourselves as people, right? Trying to be the best versions of ourselves. So that whole full altruistic standpoint has been used so often in a sense of going, look, I'm doing this for you. I'm treating you like crap for your own good, right? And what is being sacrificed, though, in that standpoint? Oh, well, I'm taking the hit because you can hate me for that. That's my sacrifice. It's really not. And that's been kind of the trend across social media. You know, I'm here to make you laugh. I'm here to make you see the truth, and at the same time, you're not really sacrificing anything for yourself. But that whole feeling of I'm doing this for the greater good, it's wrought across everywhere. Not just social media, but the media, politicians, people that are constantly using movements to incite an emotional response to you so they can drive you to their cause. That's literally the aspect of manipulation or persuasion. Either way you see it, it's still the same thing. Persuasion is a form of manipulation. Regardless, it doesn't matter which way you pull it. That is what it is. Doesn't necessarily mean it's always a bad thing. However, people have taken it way too far. Okay, now you've got people that purely run on a divisive sort of mindset, particularly politicians, which has been notorious for a very long time, but even more so now that it's spread through mainstream media, through celebrities. That's a big one. Celebrities always talking like negatively. You know, I was listening to some of these celebrities talking about, oh yeah, you know, they hate the president so much they've thought about assassinating him, as if this is some sort of big altruistic move. It is not. That is just straight up crap. It's bullshit. Alright, there's no other way to put it. Okay? That's not some altruistic move. I'm doing this for the betterment of society or anything. That is not an altruistic move. Okay, you're not sacrificing anything. Ergo, you are not some sort of hero to the world. That's not how that works. But because that is the move that everybody's doing, this is why I wanted to do this video. Being aware of what it is to actually be altruistic, there has to be a level of sacrifice for yourself. Guess what? The same thing happens in compromise, right? Why are people seeming so uncompromising these days? Because they don't really understand what it means to compromise and find a middle ground. In order to compromise, two parties of two extremes, no matter how extreme they are, must sacrifice something to find that common ground. If only one is expecting the other to sacrifice, or vice versa, then it's not truly a compromise. Okay? And that's been the huge problem in today outside of politics, because it's bled out into our culture, especially across social media. To whereas, again, there's so many people that if you disagree with them, all of a sudden you're an enemy. You know, you're a racist, you're xenophobic, you're a communist, you're a fascist, you're a dictator, you're all these other sort of negative labels, which again, people go to the extremes because it's much easier to objectify them in that manner. To call them something so evil, it's easier to hate and dislike and drive them down. Not even realizing that those same people have that same view of you doing the same thing to you, because it's all back and forth, and then you got these whole feuds going on, and nobody is learning to compromise or communicate with each other. And then you get these big moves from politicians and government trying to control either side of the narrative, and not realizing we, the people, have that power. Okay? So again, this is a topic that, if you can tell, I'm very, very passionate about, because of where people kind of get lost in it. Right? If you've watched any of my other videos, I'm constantly talking about, you know, lowering down the emotional response so then we can get to that higher brain function to where we can be logical and communicate with each other rather than being purely irrational and emotional, or excuse me, purely emotional and possibly irrational for how we knee-jerk towards certain reactions. Again, if we want to move forward and when we want to have true peace, true coexistence, you're going to have to sacrifice something. One of my favorite sayings I used to say before was, true coexistence can only exist when we can all disagree with each other and still be alright with it. What happened to those days? You know? Well, they can't because they've decided that no. Nope. Take accountability, take responsibility for your own thoughts, for your own actions, for your own growth, and from then on, start that vibe of positivity to where you can remain as an example for people to grow. Not an example of how to tear down people, because it's really easy to find. Geez, I learned how to insult people really, really well in my Call of Duty days. You know, back when I was in the military, I used to play that all the time. Get on Call of Duty, oh, my smack talk was, yeah. You know, that's where we learned it. It's really, really easy to do that. And why is that? Because social media, you know, the digital realm, all together, even, you know, especially in those video games, right? They teach us to further objectify people instead of accepting them as other people, right? That also brings about this whole idea of infallibility, as if people can't make mistakes or they can't change their mind. There's this whole, I had this whole article about like the lost art of retraction. People don't retract their statements anymore. People don't admit that they're wrong. They just move on like, whatever, and then they go the other way, and it seems like they just don't care or they're not aware, and that they're truly disconnected from the rest of the world. And unfortunately, that sort of mentality being in the forefront of, say, news media or social media, celebrities, that spreads to the rest of our culture. So, here's my proposal, all right? Instead of always pushing for the greater good of the world, and that's as a justification for treating other like crap, how about we push to grow ourselves? Again, that's something I call spiritual development, that internal reflection, to focus on something greater so you can grow and move forward with your life. All right? If more people did this, I swear there'd be so much less conflict, because just the advent of knowing and accepting others as part of yourself. You know, I forget who said it. I don't know if that was Emerson or Thoreau that said it, but it's something on the lines of, and I could be completely off on this, it's something on the lines of, you can't hate or love something about anybody else unless you hate or love that aspect about yourself. Okay? They were alluding to the emotional side of you, your reflections, your projections of yourself onto other people, and how you cannot truly actually, you know, when you're fighting people about stuff, a lot of times that's a reflection of you and how you feel about yourself, how you view yourself, even unbeknownst to you. It could be subconscious, because you may be like, nope, I don't do all that stuff, when in fact you may actually do all those things. So again, hopefully you guys had a great weekend. Hopefully we can drive forward and continue to educate ourselves, and hopefully we can elevate ourselves first and bring that wave of positivity so we can get back to, at least get back to zero, where we can all talk to each other again without this whole massive emotional reactionary responses to just talk down on people. That type of toxicity, remember, like, negativity can only destroy until there's nothing left. All right, I'd rather not get to that point, right? But positivity, creation, can build literally from nothing. So it doesn't matter where we're at. It doesn't matter how divided we are. It just matters that there is that switch in polarity. So switch that polarity. Try it out. I think I issued a challenge on, I think it might have been Instagram, you know, during the new year, where I challenge people, hey, take all of January, just January, and try to be positive just for 24 hours. And if at any one time a negative thought enters your mind, restart that 24 hours again. Okay, I actually picked this up from I think Grant Cardone was the first one that I heard try to do it, and he even says it too. I guarantee you will fail the first day, no matter what. And you have to be honest with yourself. That's the big one. Which again, spiritual development, meditation, having that internal reflection, having that maintenance for yourself, all those things will help drive you back to that anyway, so you can be honest with yourself, so you can move forward and not feel so stuck. Okay? Alright guys, have a fantastic week. Here's to more positivity. Again, deep breath in, slow inhale, slower exhale. Everything to switch it back. Your body is an amazing tool. It is amazing in what it can do. Work to better it. Alright, we'll see you guys later. Hey, thanks for checking out my video on here. If you like the content that I'm putting out, please be sure to like and subscribe down below and add a comment, because I'd love to see what your guys' thoughts are on this sort of content and these topics that I'm putting out there. Alright, until next time, stay golden.